And good morning, everybody. It is Wonderful Wednesday with Kryssa Marie Bowman. Now, Kryssa, I met you 2 years ago at Hypnothoughts, and you
Mhm.
are a feisty character, and it was really good fun actually. And I can't really go into it on here because it did include somebody else, but I just thought, whoa, there's a feisty woman, and I want to know her. So
I tend to think of it more as I just have really good boundaries.
you have good boundaries. That's it. It's like speak to the hand.
Right.
So, Kryssa, tell everybody what you do, because you I know you like to geek out on quantum physics and the spiritualness and everything. But do you know what? You tell us. Tell us about you.
You know, oddly enough, I don't actually consider what I do spiritual hypnosis. However, that is how people find me. So I do sometimes have to use that verbiage in order for them to find Quantum Journeys Hypnosis Academy. Um, but all of the woo-woo experiences that I've had throughout my life do in fact have or are beginning to have scientific explanations.
Mhm.
As we are digging deeper into the science of consciousness and quantum theory, we're actually finding that a lot of these, being able to visit other lifetimes, being able to gain access from other dimensions of our consciousness, otherwise known as maybe the Akashic records, things like that. Or even be able to communicate with other higher energy beings that we can't see with our very limited, teeny tiny physical, visual, sense. So yeah, I don't really consider myself spiritual. However, I have spiritual practices because there's no better word yet that
Okay.
everybody would agree upon. But I jokingly put multidimensional consciousness wrangler as my
I know I saw
title
it. It's really cool.
because I was like, I don't know really what to call myself because I feel like it's definitely still hypnosis because everything that we're doing is accessed through a state of trance. But it's
Exactly.
not practitioner led hypnosis.
Okay.
We're just asking questions so that we can get the aspects of the client who have the answers to come through to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They always have the answers. Everybody has to, in my opinion, everybody has the answers inside themselves, and we just guide them to bring those answers out.
Absolutely. And doesn't that take a lot of the pressure off of you as the practitioner to know that really your job isn't to have all the answers, to be, the most perfect hypnotist in the world. Your job is to help your clients access the aspects of themselves that do have the answers, that know how to bring about healing and resolution and release and, whatever it is that they need. For me, when I stopped doing the other kind of hypnotherapy, the kind where I had to come in with all of my confidence and be like, I know everything all the time. Just listen to me. I've got all the answers and all of that stuff that I find really uncomfortable, first of all. But second of all, caused me a massive amount of imposter syndrome. But that's how I was trained. I was trained, you have to have all of this confidence going in because your clients are going to be basing their confidence in you on your confidence. But I didn't necessarily feel super confident all the time. So I would do like the fake it till you make it, which triggered imposter syndrome. When I
Oh,
stopped doing it that way, and I just got really curious about what we're going to discover in the session and what parts of the client's consciousness are going to come through with the answers or the insights or the transformations or the whatever, I forgot to get scared. I just got really
okay.
curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. And actually, I was going to say that because it's about asking the questions, and it's
Mhm.
totally about getting curious about the client. However, when I do it, I must admit, I draw lots of diagrams about emotional intelligence. What's going on inside their brain, and then they tell me more, and then it's like, and then we go, okay, and then they realize
Mm.
that this is why they behave, and then they get curious about suddenly thinking about their family or their children and why they behave, and then they go, oh.
Mhm.
And to
Yeah,
me,
I love those moments, those like light bulb moments. And like, as the practitioner, you or I might see so clearly what's going on, but telling the client what we see is not very helpful, because they need to get to that point themselves and have those epiphanies themselves.
Yeah, they need to, and that's what I do it, gently, as I'm sure you do, and then it all comes together, and then it's sort of up, and then we deal with it. However, which way, you'll deal with it your way, I'll deal with it my way, and that's the beauty of it. Tell us though, because I've been listening to a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza and all of him. I mean, are you a fan?
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Okay, because he talks a lot about quantum physics and all of that, and the multidimensional consciousness.
He's started to make it a little bit more mainstream in the spiritual community, which I'm thankful for. I think there's people that have taken that work and gone way beyond it that have not quite made it mainstream. Their work hasn't come into the spotlight yet, but soon. Like Dr. Donald Hoffman. If anybody listening to this wants to learn more about the science of consciousness, Donald Hoffman is a fantastic person to check out. Also, Dr. Stephen Greer, if you want to learn more about dimensionals, transdimensionals, extraterrestrials, other higher dimensional beings, Dr. Stephen Greer is a great person to follow. Okay, great. Okay, no, that's all wonderful, because there's so many people interested in those things. So when this goes out in the actual comments, if you put those names in, so that'll be helpful for people. You've written a book. Tell us about it. Yes.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So it just came out as an ebook, and then the paperback version of it is coming out on the 15th. Okay. It's called Quantum Journeys, Multidimensional Healing and Discovery. And it is an anthology written by myself and 18 other Quantum Journeys hypnosis students and graduates, with Stephanie Conkle. And it's all about our sessions, just these amazing, phenomenal things that happen in our sessions, and the insights that the clients get, and also the results later. Sometimes they're just really ordinary issues, but then we get extraordinary results, and other times it's more just an exploration. So for example, somebody who is struggling to lose weight, just a really common thing that we deal with in hypnosis on a regular basis, right? So discovering that while they're in this trance state and they're going to talk to the aspect of themselves that knows what's going on, sometimes that's in the body, sometimes that's beyond, sometimes it's a collaboration. There's a client who discovered that the reason why every time she loses weight, she regain it to the exact same point was because the lost soul of her miscarried child was still an attachment to her, and she hadn't fully grieved and released it. And maybe that's a metaphor. Okay, let me just state that. Maybe that's a metaphor that the client's own subconscious mind came up with in order to allow her to deal with this and process the grief and release. Maybe it actually is a fragment of the soul of this little human. Who knows, right? There's no way to quantify that. But it doesn't matter, because she got the results. She got the insight. She got the transformation. She got the results. And, that's what matters, right?
I agree. Coming to you with something, and no matter what it comes up with, and if she came up with that herself, then that's what she needed to hear in order to move on. So exactly. It just doesn't matter. You'll find this fascinating. I had a lady, she came in, she was very large, and it was, it was way back in England. And she said, I don't understand why I can't stop eating. So, and we actually ended up doing a past life. And in a past life, she'd starved. She'd starved to death. And she was crying. And I just said, and I said, so what is the learning? Because when I do it, I always do it for some learning. And she said, there's enough food. There's enough food in this lifetime. You don't need to eat it all. And therefore, then she came out, she goes, I need to eat it all. Because that was why you see, is it real?
I've run into that a few times too. Yeah, it's always so fascinating. And there's always such different things behind the behavior. So there's never a one size fits all, which is, one reason why I much prefer the client-led variety of hypnotherapy as opposed to the practitioner-led, because I, as the hypnotherapist, I don't know nearly as much about my client as my client knows about themselves. And
Yeah.
so I would rather put their higher self in the driver's seat, you know? So yeah, it's fascinating though. And so all these stories are, various things like that. And some are more exploratory, where a person is like, well, I don't really have a particular issue that I want to work on, but I would love to just go and find out what my higher consciousness feels that it would like to share with me right now, or open communication with that. Or in one case, a woman was like, I used to have a lot of sort of extrasensory perception skills when I was a child. And then I shut them off. I shut them down because it just wasn't safe and I was being harassed. And she wanted to turn them back on again. And so we went in and did that. And I gave her a little mechanism so she could turn it up or down or on or off so that it's not like all the time,
I love that. Okay, thank you. Because I just met somebody last night networking, and she was talking to me about that. And she said she's stopped it. She went to get some medication for it. She said she went on anxiety meds to stop it. But she misses it now. She used to have people sitting on her bed. She could feel, but it used to freak everybody out in college, and they didn't want to be in the same room as her because she was talking to people.
Right. Yeah. Well, I actually had a situation as a kid. I was like that. I used to very easily see and communicate with nature spirits. I spent my early childhood on a New Age hippie commune. So I guess it comes with the territory, but to some degree. But I did get harassed and bullied later for that. And my subconscious must have just turned it off. In fact, turned it off so thoroughly that I guess maybe about 5 years ago, I realized I'm aphasic.
Oh.
I didn't used to be at all. And then I am. Anyway, now I'm starting to turn that back around and I can't visualize. I'm just a low visualizer unless I'm dreaming. And then it's very, very lucid and detailed and crisp and clear. So when I'm in lucid dreams, I'm trying to train my brain to remember the pathways to get there so that I can do it in a trance state too.
Yeah.
Because why not?
I love lucid dreaming.
So,
I know I sometimes go off, and I know that when I've gone off somewhere, because I can feel myself coming back in. So it's, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's like, oh, where did I go?
Yeah. And there's some funny things that happen that I've learned not to do because I'll get kicked out. Like when I meet somebody else and we both recognize that we understand that we're in a dream, because that happens sometimes. And it might be somebody familiar and it might be somebody unfamiliar, but like we'll lock eyes and I'll be like, that we're dreaming, don't you? And then as soon as we're both kind of like, yeah, then I get kicked out. Or if I ask like where we are, what day or time it is, I get kicked out.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is that all in your book? Because I love the fact that I love books like that where you've got stories. That's going
to come in a future book. So this one I intentionally called it book 1.
Okay.
I intentionally put book 1 on there because I was like, well, that will inspire me to have a book 2. And it will also hold me accountable to do that because there will be other people saying, I read book 1, where's book 2? So book 1 does have a bit about my own background and how I came into this. Because I actually turned my back on all things for a while and was like hardcore science, pure logic all the way. Following a near-death experience that sort of blew my mind wide open, also caused deep depression because I didn't want to be here anymore. And I felt like the only way that I could reconcile being here was just like kind of deny and repress all of the new agey, spiritual, woo-woo, metaphysical stuff that I kind of had in the periphery of my life my whole life until then. But anyway, so that's in the book. And then also how I came about Quantum Journeys Hypnosis, which has some pretty interesting underpinnings. I had a couple of past life regressions myself as the client, where I discovered that I was doing this exact same kind of work. It just wasn't called hypnosis. And I was like, well, can I just bring forward some of those skills? Like, it's all great to release trauma in a past life, but it seems like there's a wealth of knowledge and wisdom there too. Why just release trauma when maybe I could bring those skills, that wisdom, that knowledge forth into this incarnation and help people with it here? And my higher self very clearly said, almost like giggling, like, oh, she figured it out. Like, we don't have to start at square one this time. Yay. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of got the downloads. And then as I started doing the sessions and writing things down and keeping track of, you know, the different, you know, outcomes that would happen with the different clients and the exploratory stuff, it just sort of, it happened. And I got the impression that I was supposed to teach a class. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to teach the class that teaches how to get into that deep state of trance so that you can open up the communication with other aspects of your higher consciousness. And sometimes lower aspects too, because you also want to talk to the body. But anyway, I taught that class. I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't even know who's good. Like, I'm too new. Who's going to even want to come to my class? This seemed silly. But my higher consciousness kept saying, like, just do it and they will come, you know, just build it and they will come. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not even going to put the class together yet unless I get like at least 20 students signed up. So just put it out there, and like it filled up really fast. And I went, I guess I better write this class. So I did. And I thought that was it. And a couple of months later, I got the message that I'm supposed to do another one, a follow-up class. And I was like, yeah, I can see that there's, you know, some missing components in that first class. Like now that I'm on the other side of it, like there's things that really deserved to be touched upon a little bit more. So I taught a second class. And then eventually I ended up teaching 6. And I didn't mean to at any point. It wasn't pre-planned, but those 6 ended up becoming a course. And then I backfilled all the areas to sort of pull them all together and make them into this full course. And now it's a dual certification course. So you get 2 certifications. One is a Quantum Journeys hypnotist, and then the other one is through the International Hypnosis Association as a hypnotherapist. But yeah, so that's how that all happened. It wasn't ever planned. Like people always are talking to me about, like, you have to have goals. You have to have the 1-year goal, the 5-year goal, the 10-year goal. And I don't work like that. That almost makes me feel a little bit claustrophobic, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I would rather just wake up and see where my joy leads me.
Yeah,
like,
and just do it.
Sparks my interest today. Then if I have this like rigid plan that doesn't fit with, like, you know, something that might spark my joy in some other direction, then I'm going to miss out on what my higher self is actually guiding me to do. Because I'm like, no, I got to stick to the plan. And I mean, I'm not saying that everybody should do that. There are people that absolutely work better with the more rigid plan, but I am certainly not one of them.
But it's just different types of people, isn't it? And again, from their different models of the world. So everybody has to do their own thing. I think I'd probably be a bit more where you are with that. I don't like being told.
I have ADHD too, so sticking to any kind of a plan, like this inner rebel kicks up and goes like, plan schman, we're going to derail you as much as possible. So I find it's almost just like better. I start the day with a routine, but then I don't know where we're going to go after that.
Yeah. Yes, I always start my day with a routine and don't know where. Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's awesome. So you're going to give us the links anyway for your book and how people can find you. And so, yeah, and I'm going to see you on Friday, next Friday at Hypnothoughts.
Right. And we're both presenting at Hypnothoughts this year, yes? Yeah. So that's exciting. I'll come to yours if you come to mine. I know this is right after mine, so you might not be able to, huh?
I know, and it's like, again, so it's like this. If we could now, this is where quantum, please, can we separate ourselves from different people? Because it is really difficult when there's so many wonderful speakers on all at the same time.
All at the same time, yeah.
And then you've promised everybody that you're going to go to it, and then you go, oh shit, they're all at the same time.
Yeah. There's somebody I really want to see that's actually at the same time as me. But I'm going to make sure that I purchase the recording of hers. So even though I can't be there live, but yeah, anyway, well, this was lovely. And I didn't realize we had so much in common. So that's really cool too.
I know. There you go. So everybody have a wonderful day. And it's goodbye from me, Claudia Rickard. And it's goodbye from
Kryssa Marie Bowman. Thanks so much for tuning in. It was a lovely chat.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye. Bye.